Hello, Gia, do I have you with me? Yeah, awesome. Hi, Gia, I see you. Okay. Woo. So I am going to be kind of flip-flopping between screens because it's hard to focus when you are seeing yourself in a bit of a delay. Um, so I'm going to get into that in a moment, but I just want you to know that I'm not necessarily watching the chat at this exact moment if you send me anything. I'm so happy you're here, Gia. All right. I do want to get started. I want to be mindful of the time. I know there's a few people who said they're going to pop in. I hope so. I look forward to seeing them. But I also realize that there's a lot going on at this time of day for many people. And we're going to just dive in. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Hansen, and I am so honored to have you here, to have you watching this whenever you get a chance to watch this. This is such a special moment for me. This is something that, you set goals or you have big dreams. And one of mine was to write this book. Um, and you think about that goal of having a finished product, like having that book in your hands. But what you forget about are all the other momentous things that happen around that. Like me being able to do a chapter reading publicly with people and sharing this work with the world. This feels like just another part of my goals and dreams coming true. So this is a very special moment for me. This is my very first live reading of You're Strong Enough for This. This is our beautiful book, and I'm really looking forward to this. This book was born out of personal inflection points. So, if you're not familiar with that terminology, inflection points are different things that happen in your life. They're big, momentous moments, or they can be powerful, emotional moments that impact your emotionally. And it's kind of where before something happened and then after something happened. Those are kind of inflection points. And I talk throughout my book about three major inflection points that have been the basis and the foundation of not only this book, but also the courses and programs that I create and the coaching and mentoring that I do. And so, just very high level, I'll tell you some of the inflection points that I personally experienced were when there was something that happened with my health. I was a young girl, I was wrestling with my sister, and all of a sudden my shirt was wet. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is that about? And didn't know what was wrong, had to go for all of these different tests and studies with doctors. And it took about 6 years for me to get a proper diagnosis. But in the meantime, they were doing tests and mammograms. And I actually had a nurse at one of the hospitals waiting for my test to say, you're taking the spot of someone who's actually sick. And at that time, there weren't cell phones. So I remember I went down the hall to a payphone, and I was living in Ontario and my parents were living in Manitoba, crying to my mom that this nurse had said that, but that I still didn't know what was wrong and how torn I felt about not wanting to take someone else's spot. So there was before my shirt was wet, honestly. And then there was the self-image, the me after that, all of a sudden not thinking, just assuming my body was healthy and flourishing and going to do everything I needed it to with no issues. Then there was the other inflection point where when I was younger, I went to what they call a bush party. If you haven't heard of it, it's actually a party that's in a bush. And I went with two girlfriends by cab, didn't ask where I was going. When we arrived, we realized we were the only women, the only girls with many, many, many young teenage boys. And all the hair on my neck stood up, and I knew we had made a grave mistake. And there was before that night happened, and then there was the me after that night happened, where I was assaulted. And then the third inflection point is when I had my first child, my sweet, beautiful angel baby. Basically, about 6 months into her life, started to have all kinds of health complications. And until she was 4 years old, we didn't get a diagnosis. She became septic, her skin turned gray, she lost her hair. And so, taking care of a child that isn't well, there's before that happens, and then there's after. Your image of what it's supposed to be like for your new baby, for you as a parent or a new mother. And then when it changes, and you all of a sudden have to learn how to be an advocate and you have to learn all kinds of skills. Those are inflection points that have really, the wisdom I've gained from all of those experiences and the way that I got through it is the gift that I want to share with you. So tonight, as I'm reading the introduction in chapter 1, these are the foundation of everything that I do and everything that I teach. But specifically in the introduction, this is the heart of the book. I want you to feel like these are words that are written directly to you from someone who gets it. Okay. Also, as I said, it's difficult to watch yourself on a bit of a delay. So I'm currently looking at a different screen. However, one of my trusted colleagues, Gia, is in the chat. So if you have any questions, or I want this to be interactive, I want you to communicate, add your thoughts as we're going along, share your stories. She is there to help. And then once I'm done the reading, I'm going to come to the chat to come and see the discussion, and I'll speak to some of those items. Um, all right, so we are going to just dive in. Again, my name is Kate Hansen. I just finished publishing my very first book, You're Strong Enough for This. The front image was designed by my uncle, married to my dad's sister, an incredible graphic designer, Pat Grixty, and I love it. From the second he sent it to me, it has just touched me. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm going to begin with the introduction. Somebody's telling me to just check the chat once before I go. Okay, good. I see your message as well. Gia, thank you. All right, here we go, guys. I may get emotional. We'll see how this goes. All right, introduction. I'm here because I love you. You don't realize how strong you are until you have to be. I know. Life can make you feel otherwise sometimes. It can knock you down hard. It can make you question whether you've got what it takes to get back up. But trust me, you do. I'm writing this book because I've been there. I've felt those moments of complete overwhelm where life hits without warning. I've had days when I thought I couldn't possibly handle one more thing, and then life threw in a bonus plot twist for good measure. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't graceful, but I got through it. And I want to help you do the same. This book isn't just about surviving the hard times. It's about becoming strong enough to keep growing through them. It's about thriving, even when things feel like they're falling apart. It's about creating the tools you need to handle life's unexpected crashes and the strength to keep pushing forward when you're striving for more. Let's be real. Life doesn't come with warning signs. It's not that like you get an email saying, hey, just a heads up, your world is about to flip upside down. And honestly, I'm not even sure I'd want one of those emails if they were a thing, but that's exactly why we have to be ready. Not in a paranoid, doomsday prepper kind of way, which is what most people assume when I first bring this idea up, but in a resilient, grounded, and truly prepared kind of way. I want you to know that everything I'm sharing here is coming from a place of love and lived experience. I'm not some guru with all the answers, but I've learned a few things along the way. My goal is simple. I want you to be ready. Ready when life gets hard. Ready for when you feel like you're at your breaking point. Ready for when things go sideways because they inevitably will. But more than that, I want you to be ready to thrive, ready to grow, to pursue your dreams, to show up for the people you love, and to build a life that won't break when things get tough. So if you're reading this, Consider it a love letter to your strongest self. I'm here because I love you, and I want you to know you've got this. I really mean that. I have so many conversations. It is literally my life's work to be there, be curious, have conversations, learn about people. There's nobody that I've met who isn't going through something, who hasn't overcome big things. You might be going through something right now and thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. This book is for you. This book is a comfort, okay? This is a comforting perspective based on experience. So I'm going to continue on. Let's go. Part one, the foundation of resilience. The focus, understanding your inner strength, identifying your core beliefs, and laying the groundwork for emotional endurance and transformation. Chapter one, life happens often. Be ready for it. Opening story, when life hits without warning. There's a moment that comes for all of us, a phone call in the middle of the night, a sudden shift at work, an unexpected diagnosis, or a relationship that crumbles without warning. These pivotal events test our resilience and reveal whether we've built the internal strength to withstand life's inevitable turbulence. Life doesn't wait. It's unpredictable, and it often leaves us scrambling. Maybe you've had similar experience. Since I was a teenager, I've known what it feels like when the unexpected hits. And let me tell you, I crumbled like a poorly made cookie. I fell apart. I felt helpless, broken, and overwhelmed. It triggered a spiral of self blame, feeling like something was wrong with me, like everyone else somehow knew how to handle hard times better than I did. My anxieties grew quietly and privately. I coped through unhealthy habits, eventually developing anxiety attacks, depression, and a binge eating disorder along the way. Let me tell you about a friend of mine, Kelly. For privacy and because my people trust me, some names and details are changed, but the realities and resilience you'll read about are as real as it gets. Her story is a powerful reminder of what happens when you neglect to build the internal strength and resilience we need to weather life's inevitable storms. She was the type of woman others admired, successful in her career, had a supportive partner, and was deeply involved in her children's lives. She had systems, routines, and a calendar that kept her spinning all the plates until everything fell at once. Kelly had been brushing off health issues for months. Tightness in her chest, fatigue that lingered for days, migraines that became more frequent. She told herself she didn't have time to slow down, that if she just ate better, worked out more consistently, or got through her upcoming deadline, it would all settle. You guys guessed it? It didn't. Then her young son, Billy, quiet, sweet, and typically lighthearted, began retreating into himself. At night, he would cry without explanation, clinging to her in ways he hadn't since he was a toddler. Finally, one night after bedtime, he broke down and told her the truth. He was being bullied online by classmates that he thought were his friends. The messages were cruel. He didn't want to go to school anymore. While she was processing that, her partner, usually her calm and steady teammate, had what she described as a full emotional blowout. After months of carrying silent stress from work layoffs and financial uncertainty, he lost his temper over something small. That explosion left her holding not only on that explosion left her holding not only her own unraveling health and her son's fragile confidence and mental health, but also the emotional fallout of her partner's breakdown. And work, that was imploding too. Kelly's company was bleeding talent. More experienced employees were being poached by competitors, which meant more pressure, more hours, more demands, all placed directly on her plate. She didn't even feel like she could take an afternoon off for a doctor's appointment, let alone to unplug and recharge. Suddenly, everything Kelly thought was stable, her body, her family, her job, was gone. And the truth hit her like a brick. She wasn't prepared. For years, Kelly had done everything for everyone else, right? Just as we're taught to. She prided herself on keeping it all together. But when the storm came, there was no reserves, no safety net, no plan for what to do when life unraveled. She spiraled mentally, emotionally, and physically. She had nothing left to give. How many of us have been there? Eventually, Kelly had no choice but to stop. Her body forced her to rest. She was signed off of work on medical leave, and for the first time in her life, she couldn't push through it. But here's where her story becomes one of power, not just pain. During that pause, Kelly got help. She started therapy. She began journaling, walking in silence every morning, and reconnecting to her own thoughts and voice. She had hard conversations with her partner and started attending support groups for with other parents whose children were being impacted by cyberbullying. She stopped saying yes to everything and started setting boundaries that protected her time and energy. She rebuilt, shaky at first, slowly with intention, not just her schedule, but her foundation. Eventually, she returned to work, but in a new role, one with more flexibility and less pressure. Her partner sought help too, and her son, after months of support and love, began laughing again. She came to realize the power and control she did have. Hidden within a few deeply personal, reflective decisions about what she truly cared about and desired. Kelly now says that breakdown was her breakthrough. The unraveling forced her to rebuild a life that was aligned and sustainable, not just externally successful. Does that sound familiar? Maybe not the specific details, but the feeling, that terrifying sense of I don't know if I can hold it all anymore. Life hits hard. The real question isn't if it will happen, but when. The oxygen mask principle. So you guys have probably heard something similar to this before, but it's powerful. You've probably heard this analogy 100 times on flights. The flight attendants remind you to put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. When I first heard this as a kid, I thought, that's cold. What about your beloved kids and elderly family members who can't necessarily help themselves first? It felt counterintuitive for adults to prioritize themselves over those who were more vulnerable. But then it clicked. The point isn't to ignore the needs of others. It's to recognize that you can't help everyone if you're passed out. This actually reminds me of a time when one of my kids fainted on a flight. I kept checking on her, saying her name over and over. And when she didn't respond, apparently, I was gently slapping her face. I did this until another passenger introduced themselves to me as a doctor and said, it's okay, I can help, but please stop doing that. I had no memory of the slaps until we were in the ambulance. And my daughter asked, as she was coming back to life, as she was regaining her energy, were you slapping me? And we both started giggling. So their good memories of fainting are healthy too. That one was really funny. No memory of slapping her, only in hindsight. But back to the point. It is not selfish to put your oxygen mask on first, it is necessary. And I'd argue that the same life or death advice absolutely applies to life in general. At first, the concept might seem a bit cliche these days, since more people travel and understand the idea, but it's still one of the most powerful metaphors of how we need to approach resilience and self care. I just want to pause here for a second. Being in the coaching world and having experience with business coaches in the past or life coaches, having background in corporate world, my university, I studied psychology. I had learned of so many different techniques for goal setting, for thinking about your future, for looking forward, the importance of all those things. But I've noticed that there's a big gap in thinking about your own wellness, your own mental health when making those goals. Sometimes you have to think about that and it might impact the look, the vision that you have. And so for me, I believe that that should be one of the first things that you decide is what really matters to you to be able to be resilient, to be able to be your best, healthiest self, and then set your goals from that space. Okay. Many of us spend our days taking care of everyone else, our partners, our kids, friends, aging family members, and colleagues, while neglecting our own needs. We give and give until there's nothing left. We're very good at ignoring our own internal emergency lights, the ones flashing to warn us that we aren't maintaining things well within ourselves. But here's the thing about ignoring those red flags. Speaking from personal experience, they don't stay silent for very long. Your body and mind are like a car dashboard. Ignore the flashing light long enough, and you'll be calling a tow truck. Or worse, you'll end up on the side of the road, wondering why you didn't pull over sooner. Truth. I was ready this time. I had just finished assembling my mental health oxygen mask. I had been doing this work intentionally and studying in this way for a number of years when my mom had had an unexpected stroke. And though I had entered one of the most turbulent storms of my life, I felt steady within myself. Just a couple of years earlier, something like that would have completely leveled me. That moment showed me how important the groundwork truly is and was. Resilience doesn't mean chaos won't show up. It means that when it does, you will know how to breathe through it. I also know that doing this work made me a better support person to my family. It helped me to focus on the right things, taking action from a place of what do I want and how do I want it, or how can I do that? I stayed focused on my mom surviving her life or death brain surgery. I just have to say, because yesterday was Mother's Day, I could not stop thinking all day, I have my mom here. I have my mom to hug. I have my mom to call. It was a really great day, a great reminder, even thinking about reading today. I knew that I was going to be bringing this up. But I stayed focused on her surviving that surgery. I stayed focused on loving and comforting my dad and sister. I stayed focused on future memories that we would still get to make, like matching palm tree tattoos, a symbol of resilience, and a family trip to Disneyland, and much more. That family trip to Disneyland was last year, and my mother went on every single ride with all of the grandchildren. It's a miracle. It was amazing. I only spoke of the outcomes I wanted. I never allowed words to leave my mouth that suggested anything undesired might happen. Fear and faith are the same thing. Believing in fully in something, a result or outcome you cannot see yet. I choose faith now, every time. The trap of familiar comfort. Some people try to prioritize themselves or their health, but the time required to do so feels like it's bringing them more stress, or they even blame it for making them feel worse. So they abandon the effort and retreat to what's familiar. I hear this alibi often. It's like a blankie or a binky for adults. It brings comfort, sure, but it's not growth. Familiar doesn't mean healthy. I wish I could remember who said that quote first to me, but it stuck with me ever since I heard it. Familiar doesn't mean healthy. If you want to be ready for the next life quake, you have to do things differently. Not dramatically, not perfectly, but intentionally. Okay, and then at the end of each chapter, I put in some reflection prompts. One of the things that is absolutely my gift in the work that I do every day is that I help people take a different perspective. It's hard when you're in the thick of it to sometimes pull yourself out, and through questions and from somebody outside who wants the best and who's truly asking from a good place, Having ask a question can have people see something they didn't know before and they already had the answer within them. So when you look at these reflection prompts, like I said, a lot of people have the alibi. Oh, that takes time. I don't have time for that. You will never regret investing time in your own reflections and learning more about yourself and growing yourself. Okay. So do this work and see the immediate benefits. This is you creating your oxygen mask. Reflection prompts, the power of the oxygen mask. Number one, what moments in your life felt like everything changed overnight? How did you respond? Remember at the beginning, I gave you those three examples, my health, experiencing that traumatic assault, and then having a sick child. Those were the big three that when I first thought about this, they jumped out to my mind. There was me before that thing happened, and then there was me after that thing happened. How about you? What moments in your life changed everything, and how did you handle it? Number two, think of a time when you tried to prioritize your own well being. What helped? What got in the way? What stopped you? Have you even tried to prioritize your own well being? If you haven't done this yet, I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes from it because you'll be amazed at how quickly you can be your own best friend, how quickly you can make your life easier than you were making it. Number three, where in your life are you holding on to the familiar, even if it's not healthy? That could be an unhealthy relationship. Maybe it's in a job that is taking your soul out of you. Maybe it is the way that you're dealing with your finances, your money mindset. Could be relationships, it could be job related, it could be a million of different things. But where are you holding on to the familiar, even though you know it's not healthy? Number four, what small intentional act can you do this week to reinforce your own resilience? What can you do this week to reinforce your own resilience? Some of the things that came to mind for me when I did this the first time was when I had my breaking point. I tell this story a lot about laying in a grocery store aisle, sobbing, calling my mom. What do I do? Going straight to my doctors. I got professional help. That meant I also got medicated. That's a personal choice. Everybody has their own thing. This isn't to tell you that I know what your next step is to be healthy. I'm saying you do. Maybe it's going and booking that appointment that you need to have. Maybe it's talking to a therapist. Maybe it's talking to the person, the other person in the situation. Whatever it is, you know. Okay. And I want you to think of one intentional act that you could do this week that reinforces your own resilience, that lays the road for future success for you, that sets you up for success. Last one. Five, if you were putting on your metaphorical oxygen mask today, what would that look like? What would that look like? We are all decisions away from living a completely different life. You just need the courage. Sometimes I've heard this many times from my clients, and I said this to my coaches. It feels silly, but it's like you gave me permission to not believe what I was believing. You gave me permission to do something differently. You need to give yourself permission. Do something differently. That could be your oxygen mask. Take a few moments to write out your thoughts. Let these reflections become the beginning of your resilience package, a practice, not package. Okay, that was the introduction and chapter one. I am still in awe that this is even happening and that you were here to witness it and to be part of it. Um, I'm going to take a moment to see if there's any questions or if there's any interactions or engagement in the chat. But I did want to say if you're listening to the readings this morning stirred anything with you this morning, if just listening to the readings of the introduction chapter stirred anything within you, if you're ready to feel stronger and steadier in your own life, I invite you to grab a copy of this book. It's on Amazon. I think I can get Gia to share the link in the chat. I'm putting her on the spot for that a little bit, but I'm hoping she could do that. Let this be your companion in the messy middle. And if you know someone who's struggling with belief in themselves, with realizing how strong they are, with getting through that difficult or challenging time, maybe this is a reminder they need as well. Okay, let me go over to the chat. Blessed technology. Okay. Let me just see. All right. I don't see any comments. I don't even know if I'm actually doing this right. I don't know where to look, to be honest with you. Um, join the chat. Well, you know what? I'm going to learn as I go. Um, if you are able to see this, Gia, if you could please put the link into the book, that would be great for anybody who's interested. And because this went a little bit longer than I was expecting, I want to thank you for being here. I want you to thank you for um, showing up. And this is a really challenging, not challenging, it's like a growing moment for me, very much out of my comfort zone. And I'm glad you're here to witness it. um, I really did write this book, imagining that it would be like a love letter to your strongest self, speaking to the strongest part of you, to awaken that version of you so that you know you can get through anything, anything, especially when it feels it's most challenging. That's when you grow the most. Okay, you're not alone. Nope, you're not broken. All of those things believed about myself, nobody else is doing it better. Nobody else has the magic approach to having a challengeless life. You're strong enough for this. You're strong enough for everything, everything that you've been through and everything that's coming your way. Build it. Let's be ready. Let's open up this conversation. Let's have it with other people. Let's talk to people about the realities and how strong we are and remind people of how much strength they have within them. All right. You're already strong enough. They are already strong enough. Oh, thank you. Thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate it. I like to share the intro with so many people. Oh, that's amazing. For anyone who doesn't know, Robert O'Keefe, he's in the chat. That is my father. He is the one who has spurred me on with personal growth and development from a very young age. He had all the tapes, read all the books. I saw and witnessed him being a mentor to so many people because of his incredible mindset and faith. And for him to say that he'd love to share this intro with many people I know who need to hear this, is going to make me cry. Thank you, Dad. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for being here. For anybody who couldn't be on live, I will be doing another reading or two, I believe, in the near future. So stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I love you all. Take care, everybody. Bye.